honestly like deja vu. I had felt all of these things all too recently. They were all too surreal. It was just like, you're pregnant. Hey y'all, welcome to this video. I'll be sharing today how I knew I was pregnant before I took my positive pregnancy test. That's a mouthful there. If you're watching this video, you're probably in that wait time of waiting to take that positive pregnancy test, and you're feeling all these symptoms and you're just like, am I pregnant? Is my body playing tricks on me? So I've been there now 3 times. Even like now this 3rd time, I was pretty positive I was pregnant, but I was still Googling things and watching YouTube videos. So I wanted to share my take on that video here today on the signs and the symptoms I was feeling early on in that early 2-week time period before I took my positive pregnancy test. And I will go ahead and tell you, none of them were morning sickness or nausea or sore boobs or things like that. None of the typical things. So before we jump into the symptoms that I experienced, I just want to offer a word of encouragement. If you're in that wait time and then at the end of this you come out with a negative test, you're not any less adequate of a woman. You're not any less deserving of being a mother. You are so deserving of all of the things you dream of. And I just want to remind you that our God has a plan for your life, a plan for your children, your future children, and we just have to trust in that, as hard as it can be at times, especially when you're wanting that positive pregnancy test so badly and it comes out negative. So my heart goes out to you. I am not an expert in infertility, but I believe it is all too rampant in our society today. The female reproductive system is really just being attacked these days, and I don't believe that that's how our God intended it to be. We have toxic overload, we're nutritionally deficient, we're minerally deficient, so many other things coming at us, bombarding our bodies that harm us as women, and even more so harm our reproductive system. So I would love to link some resources down below that may be of help to you. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this, but I have some resources of some women who are much more of an expert at this and helping women reverse infertility naturally. So I would love to link that down below if you are just struggling with that, and my heart goes out to you. But just remember, you are so loved. This does not make you any less adequate of a person, of a woman, of a mother, and God has a plan for you. So let's jump right into the signs and symptoms of how I knew I was pregnant before my positive pregnancy test. So number 1, first and foremost, I was charting my cycle. I was charting my ovulation. I was pretty aware of when I had fertile days and when I didn't, although I did have a little whoops there, so I'll explain that real quickly. So after my first pregnancy and before my second one, we kind of were just open to whenever God was ready for us to get pregnant again. We didn't do any cycle tracking, family planning. We just kind of let it be. This 3rd time around, right before I got pregnant with this one, we did decide to be a little more proactive in the natural family planning aspect. And my midwife actually had recommended to us this book after I had my daughter, if we wanted to kind of be a little more on top of things and prolong pregnancy a little bit longer this time around. I was pretty aware of my ovulation, my fertile days, I was tracking things. Here's my little chart I had right here. It just kind of might be gibberish to you, but it makes sense to me. I only had 2 cycles postpartum to kind of get the hang of this. So I was very new at natural family planning, cycle tracking, fertility tracking, which is hence why I believe we got pregnant so quickly, because I was not an expert at this. And we'll probably do a more thorough video on this after this pregnancy, kind of talking about natural family planning and the correct way to do it now that I know much more about it. But anyways, I was tracking my cycle. And my first cycle, after my first postpartum cycle, was only a 24-day cycle. That should have been a big wake-up call right there. Prior to having children, I had 27, 28, 29-day cycles, pretty regular cycles. All of a sudden, I was having a 24-day cycle, and I guess it just hadn't really registered in my brain that since my cycle was shorter, my fertile window had shifted forward by a few days, which meant we could get pregnant earlier in the month in that cycle, and that's what happened. So I think missed a couple of days of actually writing down on my little chart, like as far as tracking cervical mucus, and just that's what this book teaches you, is how to track cervical mucus. Next time around, I will be looking into taking my basal body temperature, and that is a much more accurate way than just tracking cervical mucus. Although this book teaches you how to do it accurately, I just had not gotten the hang of it in these 2 cycles. So anyways, I had missed a couple of days in charting, and those were actually the days that I was fertile and we got pregnant. So basically, as soon as I went to chart, I was like, whoopsie. I didn't tell my husband yet, but in my mind, I was like, I'm pregnant. I know I'm pregnant. This was not actually planned, but I know I'm pregnant. It is okay. It is God's plan. just from like the day after. So pretty much a day or two after conception, I was pretty positive I was pregnant. So that was my first indicator. That wasn't really a sign or a symptom. That was just me kind of being aware of my ovulation, my fertility, cervical mucus, all of that, which this book teaches you about. I just must have not thoroughly studied it quite well enough. So at that point, I was pretty sure I was pregnant, so I started just kind of charting some things in my phone. 1 week after what I believe was conception date, I was rocking my daughter to sleep, and I noticed a very odd sensation. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was just in a quiet room. My brain wasn't thinking about things. I was just kind of relaxed. And I started to get like a mild headache and a very odd sensation in my uterus. And the first time around when I was pregnant, I never really knew what implantation cramping was. The second time around, I felt it, and then this time around, I felt it. Some women, when the fertilized egg moves down the fallopian tube into the uterus and attaches to the uterus wall, they will actually get extreme nausea, cramping. They will sometimes have bleeding. Thankfully, I didn't have any of that, but I did get a slight, not really like a menstrual cramp, but more or less just like a tingly, odd sensation of like it just attaching on. It's really hard to describe, but I was certain that's what was happening, and usually implantation happens anywhere from 7 to 10 days after conception. So this was right at 7 days after what I believe was conception, so it could be give or take a few days. And that was that. I had a mild headache for the rest of that afternoon. Nothing extreme, no nausea, no extreme like dizziness or weird other sensations, just that mild tingliness in my uterus and the mild headache. Some women experience much more dramatic implantation symptoms than I did, but that's what I felt, and one of the first indicators I knew that I was pregnant. And then 2 days after that, I wrote down I was very tired, although I did not sleep much with my daughter the night before, which is normal. I have a 13-month-old now and a 2.5-year-old, so I'm a very tired mama all the time. I'm a work from home mom. My husband's at work all day, so I'm with the kids day in and day out, so naturally I'm tired, but I eat well and eat very rich mineral rich foods that sustain my energy levels and kind of just level out my tiredness throughout the day. So I knew that I should not be this tired, but I was just so tired that day. So that would be 9 days after what I believe was conception date, and I was just also very ornery. Again, I eat to sustain my energy, to sustain my hormones, to sustain my metabolism. So I'm pretty well balanced on like the hormone energy crashes, up and down, mood swings. So I was having some major mood swings with my kids today. It was like just everything was making me angry. And I'm not naturally an angry person. I mean, of course I lose my cool with my kids, but it was just like every little nitpicky thing. Like if my child threw a fork across the room, that was just, driving me insane. So that was another indicator of just the hormonal shifts that were associated with the pregnancy, the implantation, the rapid growth of that baby. Because if you didn't know, between the time of conception and when you actually take a pregnancy test, there is so much growth in the fertilized egg. It basically doubles, triples. I don't even know the exact scientifics of it, but if you have the little app that tells you the size of your baby growing, it's phenomenal how fast the baby grows. Literally by the end of the first trimester, there's almost a completely formed human in you. It's phenomenal what God does inside of women's bodies. But anyway, there's reasons for those hormonal shifts. It's okay if you're feeling ornery or extra grumpy or just extra moody those days. That's totally normal. So that was another indicator of, yeah, you're pregnant. You're pregnant again. Third time around, you're pregnant. You've done this before. You know what all this feels like. You're pregnant, Amy. So then the very next day, so this would now be 10 days past what I believe was conception date, past my ovulation date. I was I wrote down I was very, very hungry. And like I said, I eat very, very much throughout the day. I eat to sustain my energy, to sustain my hormones, to sustain my metabolism, to sustain my thyroid. I had been doing this for about 2.5 months now, so I was pretty aware of how my body should be feeling on these foods and the amounts of foods I was eating, but I was so hungry that day. Like I could not get enough food. And the first trimester for me, I'm always just so hungry. Like I'll eat a meal and then I'll be so hungry 5-10 minutes later. It's just like I can't get enough food in me. So that was the first like hunger sign I felt, and since then I've been extra hungry, just per usual. But that was early on, only 10 days past conception date. So then at about 2 days later, so we're at 12 days past conception, I wrote down like I could not hardly move. I was so tired. I was ready to go to bed at like 5 o'clock at night. And if you talk to my husband, he knows to the T what time of the day it is by my actions and my mood when I'm pregnant, because at about 5 o'clock basically when it's time for me to cook dinner, I'm just like ready to crash. We'll be in the middle of doing a project and I'll just be like, I'm so tired, Tyler. I've just got to lay down. And I don't usually go lay down. I'm not one to just lay down in the middle of the day. I'm not one to just go sit on the couch or sit on the bed. I'm really a go-getter, which is just how I like to be. I should probably work into my day a little bit more rest. But that entire day, I was so tired. I didn't want to do any work things. I really didn't want to do any activities with my kids. It was kind of sad. We read a lot of books that day. I think I let them watch some movies, and we are not a big all-day movie family. We do a little bit of TV time at night, but that day we had a little extra time on screen time. I was just so tired. And I'd already mentioned that I was extra tired, I guess 4 or 5 days prior, but it was just kind of like just mild tiredness. But on this day, I really think I went to bed at like 8 or 8:30 at night. I was so tired. My husband was like, "Are you gonna eat a snack?" I was like, "Oh, I already ate a snack. I'm going to bed. Good night." Just the tiredness just hit me. I knew I was pregnant. And finally, the last thing I wrote down on my phone was actually the Friday morning that I took the positive pregnancy test. Although at the time of me writing this down, I did not know I was taking the pregnancy test that day. It was kind of just a random thing. My husband was out of the house, my son was out of the house, my daughter was napping. So I was like, well, let's take the pregnancy test. It's been enough time, I can take it. I should probably wait a couple more days, but I'm taking it anyway. If you didn't see that video, it's a really good one. My husband's reaction is amazing. Very caught off guard, so check that video out. I'll link it here and down in the description below for y'all. Anyways, that morning I was getting ready for the day. I was actually taking a thumbnail for this grocery haul video, so I had on my high-waisted jeans and was getting everything ready, and I was like, these jeans felt extra tight. And it wasn't that I had gained any weight, because I had literally just worn those jeans probably 5 or 6 days prior. I had worn them the previous weekend, I think. But it was like all of a sudden I was just like extra bloated. The relaxin, all those muscles that loosen when you get pregnant that was already setting in. They were just so hard to zip. And if you've been pregnant, you know that high-waisted jeans are almost impossible to put on when you're pregnant, which is sad because high-waisted jeans are my favorite. But anyways, that was the other indicator of, yeah, you're pregnant. These jeans are already too tight and you're like not even 3 weeks pregnant, which was crazy. That was the last indicator, was the tight pants. I have not put those jeans on since. Our jeans were just like cutting in my belly. I was like, what is this? Why are these pants so tight? I'm definitely taking a pregnancy test today. That was kind of the ultimate deciding factor of, as soon as my husband left, I was taking that pregnancy test. So one last thing I wanted to mention, I didn't actually write this down in my phone because I was really noticing it every single day for the entire 10 to 12 days before taking that test. But I was just additional discharge. Maybe TMI, but pregnant women are going to have additional discharge throughout the pregnancy, especially early on. There's just so many changes happening in your body. There's just a normal side effect, or at least it is for me. I've heard other women talk about it as well. So that was just another indicator of, yeah, you're pregnant. This is happening again. Like I told you, I knew I was pregnant literally 1 or 2 days after conception. So additional discharge is normal. You may notice that. That's just another indicator that you might be pregnant. Alright, so that is all of the signs and symptoms that I jotted down on my phone during that time frame. Hope this has been helpful to you. Some of these maybe you had, or you maybe never heard of, or maybe you're experiencing them too and you're like, well, maybe that is an indicator that I'm pregnant. And I was like, am I just imagining this? Am I just imagining this symptom and this symptom and this symptom, and I'm really not pregnant because I just want to be pregnant? Because like I said, after I did my charting on that 2 or 3 days after conception date, I was pretty convinced I was pregnant. So I was like, well, I think I'm pregnant. So now I'm just imagining all these things. So anyways, hopefully I pray the best for you and that you come out with a positive pregnancy test. I wish I could be there to rejoice with you. If you don't come out with a positive pregnancy test, I wish I could be there to hug you and comfort you. But just know that our God is there to comfort you, and that there is a timing in His plan for this if things aren't in His timing right now. So wish you all the best in your pregnancy journey, whether you're pregnant now or pregnant a few years from now when you're watching this. I am so excited to share this pregnancy journey with y'all. I love all things pregnancy, all things birth, minus the last month there when it's really hard to sleep. Other than that, I love pregnancy, I love birth. I can't wait to bring y'all along for this 3rd pregnancy journey. I brought y'all along for a little bit of my last journey, but I plan to bring y'all along for much more in this 3rd pregnancy. I'm just a lot more open on my channel now, so I can't wait to share that with y'all. I'd love to have you stick around. Go ahead and subscribe, join me back each week, like this video, all the things. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you watching this video, and I will see y'all in a future one.